Some songs do not just play, they arrive. They find you at a specific moment in your life and attach themselves to it permanently. Decades later, you hear the first note, just the first note, and you are right back there. The year, the feeling, the person you were when that song meant everything. R&B and soul music has produced more of those songs than any other genre in history, because the artists who made them were operating closer to the truth, closer to what it actually feels like to love someone, lose someone, fight for something, survive something. These are 12 of those songs. 4 decades, 12 stories. And by the time this is over, you will want to hear every single one of them again. Number 12. Sam Cooke, A Change Is Gonna Come. 1964. Number 12. Sam Cooke, A Change Is Gonna Come. 1964. Sam Cooke was afraid of this song. That is not a metaphor. It is documented fact to the fear of a man who understood exactly what the song said and exactly what saying it publicly would cost. The inspiration was specific. He and his entourage were turned away from a whites-only motel in Louisiana in 1963. 6 years a star. His records played on pop radio, purchased by white teenagers, and he could not get a room. That gap between the public embrace of his art and the private denial of his humanity became the emotional core of the song. He held it back for months.
Oh, yes it will.
Released it as a B-side in December of 1964, 3 weeks after he was shot dead in a Los Angeles motel. Wherein the civil rights movement received it like something written specifically for their moment. Martin Luther King referenced it. Marchers held it. Not because it offered comfort,
Yes it will. It's been true.
but because it offered certainty. Change was not just possible. It was coming. Sam Cooke did not live to see it. The song has outlasted every obstacle that stood in the way of what it promised.
And I say, brother, help me please.
Number 11. Aretha Franklin, Respect. 1967. Number 11. Aretha Franklin, Respect. 1967. Otis Redding wrote this song in 1965 as a man's plea to a woman. It was a good record. It charted. It did what it was supposed to do. Then Aretha Franklin recorded it in February of 1967, and the original ceased, in any meaningful cultural sense, to exist.
I'm about to give you all the money.
The spelling R-E-S-P-E-C-T was not in Redding's version. The Sock It To Me section was not in Redding's version. The entire gender dynamic of the lyric was reversed, and in being reversed, expanded into something no longer belonging to any single person. It became a declaration of human dignity that could be inhabited by anyone who had ever been made to feel like less than what they were. Otis Redding, when asked about the recording, said Aretha had taken his song, that it was hers now, that he could not perform it the same way anymore. That is the acknowledgement of a great artist recognizing that another great artist has done something to his work he himself could not have done. 60 years later, the crown has not moved. But before we go any further, if nobody ever told you about this channel, think about how close you came to never finding this. Don't let that happen to somebody else, and don't let it happen to you again. Hit subscribe right now, turn on notifications, because where we're going next in this story, you cannot afford to tap out. All right, now back to it. Number 10. Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? 1971. Number 10. Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? 1971. Berry Gordy told Marvin Gaye that What's Going On was the worst thing he had ever heard. Those are the specific, documented words. And his objection was not primarily artistic, it was strategic. Motown was a hit machine built on avoiding content
With brutality. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me.
that could alienate any segment of its audience. A song about Vietnam, police brutality, and a country tearing itself apart was not a Motown record. Marvin told Gordy that if the song was not released, he would never record for the label again. Gordy released it. It became the best-selling Motown single in the label's history. Number 1. It opened the door for every R&B artist who wanted to make music about something that actually mattered, and proved, with commercial finality, that the audience was ready to receive it. Berry Gordy later called it one of the greatest records ever made. The worst thing he had ever heard. One of the greatest records ever made. Sometimes the distance between those two verdicts is simply the time it takes for the world to catch up with what it has already been given.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Number 9. Billy Paul. Me and Mrs. Jones, 1972. Number 9. Billy Paul. Me and Mrs. Jones, 1972.
Holding hands.
This is a song about adultery, not coded, not metaphorical. Two people meeting every day at the same cafe at the same time, knowing exactly what they are doing and doing it anyway. Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff wrote it. They recorded it at Sigma Sound in Philadelphia.
It hurts so much inside.
With the MFSB house band. And they gave it to Billy Paul, who had been recording for years without breaking through to the audience his voice deserved. What Paul did with the material is a masterclass in restraint. The subject invites dramatics.
And we're gonna hold hands like we used to. We're gonna talk it over.
A less disciplined singer would have leaned into every ounce of guilt and passion available. Paul does the opposite. He delivers every line with a near conversational quietness, like a man confessing something he has never said out loud before. That restraint is what makes the record devastating. It went to number 1 and stayed there for 3 weeks, in 1972. A song about adultery, unrepentant, specific, emotionally honest at the top of the American charts. Philadelphia International Records demonstrating that the audience for soul music was ready for the full truth of human experience.
We meet every day.
Number 8. Whitney Houston. I Will Always Love You, 1992. Number 8. Whitney Houston. I Will Always Love You, 1992.
Memories.
Dolly Parton wrote this song in 1973 as a farewell letter, a graceful goodbye to her mentor Porter Wagoner, who did not want her to leave. It was a quiet, personal country record. It went to number 1 on the country charts and lived there as an important piece of the country tradition. Then David Foster rebuilt it from the foundations up, and Whitney Houston sang it. The a cappella opening, no instrumentation, just the voice alone with the lyric, is one of the great opening gambits in pop music. A statement of absolute confidence. The voice needs nothing. The voice is the record. The key change before the final chorus is the moment that turns a great performance into a phenomenon. It required someone to hear a possibility the original had never explored, and a voice capable of getting there without effort. Dolly Parton said the royalty checks funded Dollywood. She said it with genuine affection. Two artists, separated by genre and generation, connected by a song that turned out to be large enough for both of them. Whitney's version is not a cover. It is a conversation with the original, and the original answers back with equal force. Number 7. Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell. Ain't No Mountain High Enough. 1967. Number 7. Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell. Ain't No Mountain High Enough. 1967. Nicholas Ashford and Valerie Simpson wrote it, a song about absolute commitment, the unconditional promise that no obstacle, no distance, no circumstance will prevent the arrival of someone who loves you completely.
I think as far back as I can remember hearing music and hearing people sing.
Gaye and Terrell recorded it as the first of their duet collaborations. Their voices did not blend in the conventional sense. They were too distinct, too individual in their emotional approaches. What they created instead was conversation, genuine back and forth. Each performance shaped by the presence of the other. In October of 1967, during a live performance, Tammy Terrell collapsed in Marvin Gaye's arms on stage. It was the first sign of the brain tumor that would take her life in March of 1970. She was 24 years old. Marvin never fully recovered. He retreated from live performance. The grief became the foundation for What's Going On. The duets they made carry a weight now that they could not have carried in the moment of their making. The joy in those recordings is real. The loss that frames them is also real. Both things are present simultaneously, and neither cancels the other. That is what makes them unforgettable. Number 6. Bootsy Collins. I'd Rather Be With You, 1976. Number 6. Bootsy Collins. I'd Rather Be With You, 1976.
Yeah, I'd rather be with you.
Every great list needs a moment of pure, unqualified joy. A record that asks nothing from you, except that you be present while it plays. This is that record. William Earl Collins grew up in Cincinnati. By 17, he was leading his own band. At 18, James Brown heard them, hired them, and took them on the road. Bootsy Collins learned the architecture of funk from the inside out on some of the most demanding stages in the world, behind the hardest working man in show business. He eventually joined George Clinton's Parliament Funkadelic Collective. What he brought with him, the Cincinnati groove. The James Brown School of Rhythmic Discipline. His extraordinary melodic bass sensibility became foundational to the P-Funk sound that defined the decade. I'd Rather Be With You is the sound of a man who has completed his apprenticeship and is now fully, completely, exuberantly himself. The bass line is a statement of identity. The production is as warm and as wide as anything recorded that year. No darkness, no weight, just the pure, direct expression of exactly where someone wants to be delivered by a man who developed a musical language specifically to say it with maximum joy. Sometimes that is precisely what soul music is for. Number 5. Boys II Men. End of the Road, 1992. Number 5. Boys II Men. End of the Road, 1992.
Girl, I know you really love me.
13 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. At the time of its release, that was the longest any single had held that position in the history of the chart. A record that had stood since the 1950s, broken by 4 young men from Philadelphia singing a breakup song. Boys II Men formed at the Philadelphia High School for the Creative and Performing Arts, the same institution that produced Patti LaBelle and Grover Washington Jr. Nathan Morris, Wanya Morris, Sean Stockman, and Michael McCary
You've never been there before. It's only
had spent their formative years studying the vocal group traditions of the city, the Delphonics, the Stylistics, the harmony lineage of Philadelphia soul. Babyface wrote and produced the record. What he built was a framework of extraordinary emotional intelligence, slow, spacious, allowing every harmony to breathe and register before the next one arrived. The song is about the specific, disorienting moment when one person has decided to leave and the other has not yet accepted it. Not angry, not bitter, bewildered. And that bewilderment, that refusal to accept the obvious conclusion, is what made it universal. 13 weeks at number 1, 50 years of vocal tradition, delivered into the 90s with complete fidelity.
You just don't realize.
Number 4, Aretha Franklin, I Never Loved a Man, 1967. Number 4, Aretha Franklin, I Never Loved a Man, The Way I Love You.
The way you treat me is a shame.
1967. Columbia Records had Aretha Franklin for 6 years and completely failed to understand what they had. They put her in pop contexts, jazz contexts, adult contemporary contexts, all technically correct, all missing the irreducible truth of what her voice was built to do. Jerry Wexler at Atlantic understood it differently. He heard a church singer, a woman whose entire musical identity had been formed in the gospel tradition. He flew her to Muscle Shoals, Alabama, to Fame Studios and a rhythm section that had been producing a string of soul records that sounded like nothing being made anywhere else. The session was chaotic. There was an altercation. The recording was left unfinished. Wexler brought the incomplete tracks back to New York and released what they had. What they had was one of the most explosive debut performances in the history of recorded music. Aretha Franklin had been making records for 6 years before this moment, 24 years old, every year of experience present in every phrase she sang. This was not a performance. It was an arrival, the moment where an artist who has been developing in the dark finally finds the light and the world discovers the rain had already begun. Number 3, Prince, Purple Rain, 1984. Number 3, Prince, Purple Rain, 1984. Prince wrote this song in an afternoon. The people who were present have confirmed the timeline repeatedly. The chord sequence, the lyric, the emotional architecture assembled in a single sitting by a man operating at a creative velocity, his collaborators describe as almost impossible to process in real time. The recording happened live at First Avenue, the Minneapolis club where Prince had built his audience over years of performance. The Revolution played it in front of an actual audience. The recording used in the film, on the album, in every subsequent release is largely that live take. The crowd response you hear is real. The energy is real. It crossed every format boundary American radio had constructed. Rock stations played it. Pop stations played it. R&B stations played it. The film won an Academy Award. The album sold 13 million copies in the United States alone. Prince was 26 years old. He had spent his entire life building toward a music that did not have to choose between genres because it was everything simultaneously. Purple Rain did not choose. It arrived as proof that the choice had never been necessary, and that the man who made it had understood that long before the rest of the world caught up. Number 2, Marvin Gaye, I Heard It Through the Grapevine, 1968. Number 2, Marvin Gaye, I Heard It Through the Grapevine, 1968. This record sat in a vault for over a year. Norman Whitfield and Barrett Strong wrote it. Marvin Gaye recorded it in 1967 and delivered one of the most emotionally precise vocal performances of his career. Berry Gordy shelved it. He preferred Gladys Knight's version, which was already out. and already charting. From a pure strategy standpoint, the decision was not irrational. But what Gordy's calculation missed is this. Marvin Gaye's version is not a better recording of the same song. It is a different song, inhabited at such a different emotional temperature
that you love someone else.
that it occupies a separate space from every other version in existence. It does not rush toward the betrayal at the center of the lyric. It circles it, sits with the disbelief, the specific paralysis of a person who has just learned something they cannot process. When it was finally released in the fall of 1968, it went to number 1. Became the best-selling Motown single in the label's history. Sold 4 million copies. 7 weeks at the top, a year in a vault. 7 weeks at number 1. The wait changed nothing about what the record was. It just delayed the inevitable. Number 1, Donny Hathaway, A Song for You, 1971. Number 1, Donny Hathaway, A Song for You, 1971. Leon Russell wrote this song. Ray Charles recorded it. Willie Nelson recorded it. Al Green recorded it. It is one of the most covered songs in the history of American music. Every artist who approached it found something in the lyric that spoke directly to whatever they were trying to say.
Listen to the melody.
And then Donny Hathaway recorded it in 1971, and the conversation about the song's ceiling closed. Hathaway grew up in Chicago, raised by his grandmother, a gospel singer. He studied at Howard University alongside Roberta Flack, a pianist of classical training. An arranger of extraordinary sophistication, a vocalist whose technical control was matched only by his ability to make that control completely invisible. The lyric is about the distance between a performer's public life and private self. The music made for audiences, for industry, for commerce, and then the song made for one person, from the truest available part of whoever is singing. Hathaway understood that from the inside. His performance does not interpret that understanding. It embodies it. The boundary between the song and the man singing it dissolves entirely. Donny Hathaway took his own life in January of 1979. He was 33 years old. A Song for You is the clearest statement of everything he had to say. Not on paper, in the permanent memory of everyone who has ever heard it. That is what unforgettable means. That is why it is number 1.